Right, 31 January 2024, and today we're going to be having an evening broadcast. And as you can see, in the morning I was in the dark because of load shedding. Now the load shedding is even worse. In fact, all my backup lights have now lost their light. So I'm very sorry, Doc, to talk to you from such a dark room. How are you, Dr. Fedas Mteneri?
Very well, Gambakwe. How are you? It's good to be with you in the new year, and I want to say Happy New Year because I haven't talked to you this year a lot.
Yes. Thank you very much, Doc, and I really appreciate you coming here. And I want to obviously announce that you're going to be resuming your regular updates to help me, because as you can see, I'm doing all this by myself.
You have been quite energetic. You really kept us on with your informative broadcasts throughout December, the whole festive season when all newspapers and newsrooms were out. So thank you very much.
Okay, Doc, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to give an update, then I will let you conclude, and then maybe we can answer a question or two. This has to be very, very quick because I'm going to have to go to bed and come back again in the morning. So I want to give you what I've got, and I want to give the listeners and viewers what we've got. So I have been talking to people that are close to Nelson Chamisa, and there is a very, very big concern, and it's growing among people who are around Chamisa about what is happening to Nelson Chamisa. Firstly, people have now admitted that those who say they talked to Chamisa, they're now admitting that they were not telling the truth. So I don't want to say they were lying, but they have now admitted to me that they were not telling the truth. So there are people who have said, we talked to Chamisa, but it has now become clear that they did not talk to him. And when they call or when they send messages, those messages are not being responded to. He's not responding to anybody. So that is the big thing that is happening. And as I was saying, I'm concerned that Chamisa is somewhere where he cannot respond, or he's in a certain state where he's not able to respond to calls or to discuss with members of the CCC. Then I also have information that Zimbabwe intelligence have started looking into this. There's also a growing concern in Zimbabwe intelligence to say what is happening to Chamisa. They have some information, but most of the information that they have is incorrect and unconfirmed about where Chamisa is. So that is the second point. Then we go to updates on what has happened to the leadership of the CCC. Promise Mkwananzi, he is the one now who is officially the communication channel to Parliament. But Tendai Biti has now come out and said he's the Vice President of the CCC. So as we speak right now, the most senior person in the CCC is Tendai Biti, and we expect a press conference or a statement from Tendai Biti starting tomorrow. We expect to see Tendai Biti starting to take leadership. Professor Welshman Ngube, I had a brief chat with Professor Welshman Ngube, and I'm going to arrange a proper discussion with him. Probably I'll have to go over to Zim to have a chat with him very, very soon when things settle down. And Senator Kalipani Pugen has been quiet. He hasn't said anything. Ostales has been quiet. And many grassroots people are starting to quit the CCC, the people that you know, but there has been no broad or widespread quitting by the MPs. Nelson Chamisa, I'm going to expose what he said in his last speech and what is the direction that he's going to take. So in the morning when I come back, I'm going to give you guys a direction of what Chamisa has said about the current MPs and the current members of the party. He is taking a message from God. So I'm going to give that message for you. I'm going to play the clip where he explained the last day that Nelson Chamisa spoke. He said something about what he's going to do going forward. Then there is a statement that is circulating online. There was a meeting between Timber and international leaders of the provinces. And under that statement, Timber said Chamisa is fine, and he said Chamisa has been removed from the leadership of the CCC to protect him. And I think most of you have seen that statement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share that statement in the morning to explain what Timber said. Then I want to go to the issue of the court cases. There are 3 court cases currently before the court. So the first main court case is the one which is what called the main case, where Chabangu is being challenged. Then there's the Supreme Court case, where 23 CCC MPs are challenging their removal from the ballot. And there's another third one. I'm not sure who has taken Chabangu to court, but there's a third person that has taken Chabangu to court where there's a pending court case. So what I expect to happen is all these cases will be dropped, and eventually Tendai Biti will take control of the party from Promise Mkwananzi, because Promise Mkwananzi, I understand that today attempted to fire Sengezo Chawa. So I don't know how that went, and we're going to confirm. Promise Mkwananzi is not talking to people. He's not responding to calls. Also, he's been under a lot of attack, people calling him a CIO agent. But I want to explain that Promise Mkwananzi is not a CIO agent. I spent a lot of time with Promise Mkwananzi when he was in hiding. I knew his hideout here in Johannesburg with the guys from Tajamuka. Promise Mkwananzi is perfectly fine. He's not a CIO agent. And I can vouch for Promise because I spent so much time with him, more than 6 months. And Promise has been the most arrested person in Zimbabwe. So guys should stop this thing of calling Promise an agent. So I want to make it that clear that I do not buy this thing that Promise Mkwananzi is a state agent. Then I want to look at what is going to happen. So we expect a press conference from Tendai Biti tomorrow. This is very, very urgent. Tendai Biti, now that he came out and said he's the leader, we expect a statement from Tendai Biti as early as tomorrow to give a way forward to clarify all these things that is happening. And I think that from my side, I want guys to work with all these people, Tendai Biti, Washman Ngube, Karenyi Kore, and the MPs. We need to work with them until we understand what is happening to Chamisa. If Chamisa is fine, then you can make your decision to say, I'm out of CCC or I don't support CCC. But as long as we don't know where Chamisa is, I would like to obviously call upon everyone to support all the people to unite and come together until we know what has happened to Nelson Chamisa. Tendai Biti says he doesn't know what has happened to Nelson Chamisa. Then we got to the roadmap to the Congress. We obviously expect Tendai Biti to come up with the roadmap and the rebuilding of the structures. And I also expect Tendai Biti to work on the reunification of all the small parties that are there, so that we end up with one political party which can challenge Zanu PF. Then in terms of Job Sikhala has angrily attacked Nelson Chamisa, Tendai Biti, Sengezo Chabangu. And he said these people did not support him when he was in jail. So what I've heard is that Job Sikhala is going to be forming a new political party. So that is where this thing is going to be. There's a new political party from Job Sikhala. And then we'll have the broad CCC, which Tendai Biti is going to lead, which I think is going to do very, very well. I have got great confidence in Tendai Biti's leadership. I don't buy this thing of people saying there should only be one person that leads forever in this country of Zimbabwe, especially given what I suspect, that something has happened to Nelson Chamisa. I expect guys to fall behind Tendai Biti and the whole group that is there, so that we take away this division that is there. So, Doc, I know that you don't necessarily agree with everything that I said now. And I want to give you an opportunity to weigh in on what I've said. And obviously, you're going to be having your show here where you can be expressing and also giving people updates. And a lot of people respect your views and opinions. What do you think about what has happened today? Can you run through everything that I've said here and give us your opinion?
Thank you very much, Gambakwe, and a very good evening to our viewers. Indeed, I have not commented on what has been happening, but today, Gambako, I would like to comment and say Zimbabwe is definitely gripped, or if you'd like, infested with what I can call politics of subterfuge. It's the politics of dishonesty from both sides, Zanu PF and the opposition, particularly the main opposition, the CCC. What do I mean by that? It is the politics of dishonesty. And in all this, what is clear is Zanu PF's footprint, is Zanu PF's working. And it's unfortunate that in the opposition, which many Zimbabweans have put trust in, there's also been politicians of the stomach, those who run with the politics of the stomach. What is currently happening, what is unfolding in front of our eyes is such that we are realizing that in many of those politicians, even in the CCC, there is not at all any appetite to work for the people, but to work for themselves, for the trinkets and whatever can come their way. Now, why do I say this? There is definitely a Zanu PF's hand, Gambakwe, in that immediately after Advocate Chamisa indicated that he is withdrawing from the CCC, we first saw Zanu PF through Muchangwa coming out to make a comment, even to wail more than the bereaved. They, in fact, made a presser which looked like they were the leaders of the CCC, or they were the aggrieved in the CCC, to a point where Muchangwa was groping in the darkness and trying to talk even about the accounts, about how the CCC was run. And that was very weird. And that was, in fact, it showed us that the mother of the goblin had come out once the goblin had been beaten up. So there is definitely a Zanu PF here, and Zanu PF is following what is happening. Now, I was following what was happening again today when Tendai Biti came out. We have not seen Tendai Biti in a long time. I've got great respect for Tendai Biti. In fact, he has come out as one person that knows economics in our country. In fact, he is one person you can trust the country with our purse. But I think his politics of anger, his politics of liking power at all costs is coming out again. We saw this under Morgan Tsvangirai when he went against Morgan Tsvangirai and formed the PDP, and it was unexpected at that moment. And I think this is exactly what is unfolding again, because even through the Shabangu debacle, when Shabangu was literally going berserk, recalling everybody, Tendai Biti never came out to defend the CCC and to say he is the vice president of the CCC, and that and vouch that Advocate Nelson Chamisa is the president, and that Sengeso Shabangu is not a non-official. Again, him coming out today and putting it out that he is a proud leader of the CCC, one smells a rat. Why now? Why is he picking this only this time when the CCC is clearly disintegrating? It is disintegrating because we have already seen that there are three groupings that have come out, and exactly what Zanu PF would have wanted. And so Tendai Biti, I now put him on all those that have been working to make sure that the CCC disintegrates. But whatever is going to happen from here, we are going to see what is happening. You are raising an issue, Gambakwe, which I think is a conspiracy, though, about the disappearance of Advocate Nelson Chamisa. I wouldn't want to think that a person, an individual of his stature, who is, I'm sure, the most popular politician, not only here in Zimbabwe, but across the region for what he has been doing will just disappear like that. What is happening, I think, if you look back, because you only can look back as to how Nelson Chamisa has dealt with issues. We saw under when the MDC alliance was under attack, and everyone was clamoring and calling for him to make a move, for him to speak out, for him at least to form a movement. He waited for the longest time because that crisis started as early as around 2020, when there was the COVID judgment. We all know the COVID judgment, which dissolved his presidency and sought to strengthen Douglas Monzora and others. But from 2020 up until 2022, we never heard anything much from Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Even I remember Gambakwe, you would even call on to say, can he make a move? Can he form something? He is delaying. But at the opportune time, around January, around the 22nd, they came out unexpectedly and announced a new political movement, the CCC, and the whole of Zimbabwe was galvanized, and a new energy around Advocate Nelson Chamisa. We saw it, which even in less than 2 months of its formation, we saw how they walloped Zanu PF at the by-elections. Out of 29 MP by-elections, we saw them getting almost more than 19. So I think it's part of his strategy. I saw him in one of an interview with a Nigerian television, though there was problems with the network. So I don't want to raise panic and probably strengthen the hand of those who are bent on taking over what they did not work for, the CCC leadership, on the guys that Advocate Nelson Chamisa is missing. He is not missing. In fact, in his address, in his statement, which is on Twitter when he was resigning from CCC, he clearly implored people to say, let's wait and we will be updating you of the next steps that we are going to take from here. And there is no doubt that there is something in the making. And in fact, let's give him kudos, because this time around he is acting faster. He has pulled the rug under the Chabangus and Zanu PF, and he has dumped the CCC, obviously as a sign that there is something that he is forming something. And Gambakwe, there is no doubt that the most popular politician in our country at the moment is Advocate Nelson Chamisa, and everybody is guessing what is his next step, and people are being careful, not to be seen to be against him, but they are also being exposed because some of them are already showing which side they are on. And I think they all know that they may have the next 4 or 5 years before the next election, but once they fall out with Advocate Nelson Chamisa, they may never see the door of parliament or any council seat. So at this moment, Advocate Nelson Chamisa is I think I would safely say he is safe, and I'm sure he is planning something and following his strategic ambiguity, because you must know that he cannot dump it immediately. I think it's a continuation of that strategy, that the Zanu PF should not know exactly what they are forming. But if there is anything I should advise, it is that I think there are many lessons learned now from the time of the MDCT to the MDC Alliance to the CCC, that even as Advocate Nelson Chamisa prepare to form or to announce something, that there are many lessons that we can learn, that we need.
Okay. So Doc, you know what I want to do?
Yes.
I want to ask you to please come tomorrow or during the day or maybe in the evening at this time and unpack most of the issues that you're unpacking. They need proper unpacking because there's so much.
Okay.
I want us to wrap this up below 20 minutes. So I'm going to recap, and then I'll give you a chance to close up. So let me recap, and let me start with the display that I was making now. So we agree with what you're saying. It's a broad number of topics that need to be unpacked over a long time, and it's a developing story. I have been on this story since 15 December. When I realized that something was wrong with Chamisa, that was 15 December, because I know Chamisa very, very well, more than anyone. When I look at Chamisa daily, I don't look at a casual manner. I sit there and I look deeply into what Chamisa is doing. And I try to give this to you. Tomorrow I'll give you more of what's going to happen. But let's start with Charlton Wende. Charlton Wende has now updated his Twitter. He's now Secretary General of the Citizens Coalition for Change. Yesterday, I gave you the list of the leadership, a new leadership of the CCC. Tendai Biti President, Ndlovu First Vice President, Karini Kore Second Vice President, Mafume Legal Secretary, and I think there's one person, Sengozo Chabangu, is the Secretary General of the party. So that is the new structure, interim structure that is there. Then let's recap with what has happened. People have told me around Chamisa, I talked to them today. They've admitted that they were lying when they said they talked to Chamisa. When they came out in public and said they've talked to Chamisa, they were lying. But they didn't say they were lying, obviously they say they did not tell the truth. Then Chamisa is not picking calls when he's being called by CCC leaders. So among them all, Timba, Mkwananzi, you can go down the line. No one has talked to Chamisa. He's not responding to these guys. And Chamisa is not coming back to work with anyone that you know. That is the way this thing is standing. They are already starting to call him a dictator. And what they're saying is that if he comes back with a new organization, they're not going to join it. So most of the guys that I talk to, they say they're not going to join the new organization that Chamisa is going to form, because he's going to turn around and say, I formed this thing by myself. So most of them are saying if Chamisa forms something new, they won't go there. They will rather build the existing CCC. So all the MPs, councillors, and senators, that's why they are staying put. They are going to fall behind Tendai Biti. And they are going to see Tendai Biti doing very, very well. He's going to get the 2 million if they are working with Mkwananzi. Because remember, Mkwananzi is the one who's got the official chain of communication to Parliament. He was the first person to write a letter. And Parliament is going to take that first letter, which was written, and he's going to have the 2 million. So Mkwananzi is now a millionaire as we speak, because according to the CCC constitution or the old MDC constitution, half or 50% of the money from Parliament goes to the president. So Morgan Tsvangirai was getting 50% of all the money from Parliament. So Mkwananzi is going to get the 50% if Tendai Biti does not move fast. Right now, we need to see what happens. That is a very, very critical thing that needs to happen. There's then the issue of the court cases and also the Congress. That is where everyone is looking. And Job Sikhala has indicated that he's going to be forming a new political party. He has talked to different people, and he's going to be forming a new political party. Or he's going to work with Nelson Chamisa. That is the possibility. So he's not coming to Tendai Biti and the rest of the guys. So if you saw what Charlton when they did there, it means Sengozo Chabangu has been kicked out. That is what that means. If you see this update here, Mkwananzi fired Sengozo Chabangu this afternoon. So that means Wende has taken back his old position of Secretary General, and we are seeing the rebuilding of the old leadership, which was there around Chamisa, and without Sengozo Chabangu. I don't know what the compromise is going to be. Probably they're going to take 500,000 and give it to him and say, Chabangu, you can go home and build your village. So that is where we are. And then in terms of reunification, I think Tendai Biti will set the scene during a press conference. But Chamisa is right now, as I'm speaking, according to me, unresponsive to calls, unreachable. He has not made any plan, or he has not made that plan known to anybody. And I don't expect to see Chamisa addressing any press conference or anything. So don't expect Chamisa to show up. Something is going on, And I've been saying this for a very, very long time. And I know, Doctor, you say that this is a conspiracy. But as long as we don't see Chamisa, as long as we don't see him talking, let's consider that Chamisa is missing. And as I said, my sources say Zimbabwe intelligence is also now looking to find out what has happened to Nelson Chamisa. So they won't do that if they knew what was going on. So they also don't know what is happening with Chamisa. So I've wrapped up here, Doc. I'll be back in the morning. We'll look at the newspapers to see what they've said, because the newspapers have got different sources to me. So I always come in the morning to say what each newspaper is saying about Chamisa and Wende and Biti. And then we'll obviously try to get hold of Biti himself if he's not going to give a statement, which I expect to be. That would be crazy if Biti just comes and says a vice president and fails to give direction. So we expect Biti to show up tomorrow and his leadership and give proper direction, and also give direction to the MPs. Karin Kore, we expect to give direction. We expect direction from the spokespersons. There are those three groups that are causing confusion. We don't know which group is formal and which group is not formal. So let's wrap up, Doc. What is your last word on this topic for tonight before you come back tomorrow?
No, for me, it's just a sad chapter in that what Zanu PF has always wanted is exactly what is unfolding. Zanu PF managed to divert attention, because all this that is happening is a sideshow which Zanu PF wanted, especially after losing the 2023 August election, where they did not get the 2/3 majority they wanted. And obviously where Sadiq clearly said the election was a sham, so President Mnangagwa was discredited before he was even put as a president. So now Zanu PF wanted attention to be moved away from the illegitimacy of President Mnangagwa and Zanu PF. And we know that all the observer missions, credible observer missions, have said this election was not free and fair. And what is happening now is exactly the script that Zanu PF wanted people to read. Now everybody has forgotten about this lost election, and we are concentrated on this, what is happening in the CCC. And that's why I said it's sad that there are those in the CCC who have been aiding and abetting Zanu PF in doing all this. And again, what is more forgotten is the economic crisis in the country. The economic crisis in Zimbabwe right now, life is unbearable in Zimbabwe. The inflation rate has gone so high, and I mean it's unbearable. And we all know that. And what is happening? We are concentrating on illegal by-elections. We are concentrating on politics and politics of the stomach. Meanwhile, the ordinary Zimbabwean, the voter, is suffering. And CCC members, some who were trusted before, are part and parcel of that betrayal. And that's why I say it's sad. In the end, who wins? Zanu PF wins, because Zanu PF employs what we call strategic entrenchment. And every crisis that happens benefits Zanu PF. Be it economic crisis, it benefits Zanu PF. A crisis in the opposition like the CCC, it benefits Zanu PF. That's why you see Bomchangwa literally drooling and being part and parcel. So Gambakwe, for me, while tomorrow I will also unpack the way I view things, the sad part is Zanu PF so far has won because the script, the way they wanted it, is exactly unfolding that way. We have all been taken away from the real issues, the issue of illegitimacy that needed to be resolved, and the issue of the economic crisis that continue to be a rope tied upon on all Zimbabweans. Thank you, Gambako.
Doc, I think one thing I have to tell you about me is some of the things that I come up with, they're out of this world. What do you think about the third force theory now?
The what?
The third force. When I was telling you about the third force.
Of course, I mean, whether you say you were right or not, I think in politics, there will always be those alternatives. So it depends on what you were referring to as the third force. Do you mean that?
Okay.
But I
let me unpack. Let me unpack it, Doctor. I said there is a third force that is made up of people from the CCC and Zanu PF. It's a military, business, and political force that wants a different approach to Zimbabwean politics. And it seeks to remove Chamisa and Mnangagwa. So you see, one side has been removed.
Yeah.
Do you know who's going to be removed next? ED is next. So this is what is going to happen. If the third force theory is correct, the next person that is going to be removed is Mnangagwa. You're going to see something happened happening on the side of Mnangagwa.
I get you, and that, I mean, that can be a plausible, explanation, because I, for one, if I want to be a realist, I've always thought that in Zimbabwe it is obviously going to be difficult to have a complete overhaul of the current system, especially through an election. But what I see as a possibility is obviously a combination from both the sides, because Zimbabwe is so polarized. There are entrenched beliefs, entrenched political beliefs, so much so that there is always likelihood of creating a conflict if one side has to outrightly win and say they are taking away political power. So yes, that explanation will always be plausible in as far as an explanation which says a middle of the road path is a possible way probably to rebuild Zimbabwe, where you have both sides of Zanu PF and the opposition probably trying to work together and extricate Zimbabwe from where it is right now.
All right, thank you very much, Doc, for joining us, and I really appreciate you coming. And I know that people will be looking forward to your commentary on these topics. This is a very critical moment, what I call a moment of truth. If you're a media house like me, I always tell people, this is the time that we know if you are a real media house or not. And if you're an analyst, this is the time when you know if you're a real analyst or not. The moments when you have to stand up. And if you're a CCC supporter, this is the time when you want to see if you're a real CCC supporter or not. If your president is saying he's missing and you don't see him, if we go 1 month without seeing Chamisa, I expect a different response from Zimbabweans. I don't expect what is happening now. Because it's been a month since I started saying, in fact, it's been more than a month since I started saying Chamisa is missing. So thank you very much, Doc. And I'll be back in the morning to update the listeners and viewers. And we'll talk again tomorrow. A good night to you, everybody, and a good night to you, Dr. Mteneri.
Thank you very much, Gambakwe. Good night.